It's someone who goes against the grain, doesn't listen to the conventional wisdom, the person who, when they make an opinion about a piece of art and then listens to an expert give their opinion, doesn't let the expert's opinion affect their opinion. So that's the definition of contrarian. I know everyone on the panel well, and that would fit. But to me, it's the art of the contrarian that's sort of a little more interesting than just what is a contrarian, because I've seen over 40 years of career in this city a lot of people who are just bluntly contrarian. They grow up that way. They like to be contrarian. It's nice to be a rebel. They like to go against the grain. Those people aren't here anymore, in general. It's the art of being a contrarian that makes it a little bit more interesting. Francis, I always love listening to Francis. He's the most interesting guy I know in the business. If you listen carefully to his 3 strategies, what he's doing, it makes extreme sense, every one of his strategies. But it's contrarian. It's against the grain. You have to really be prepared to gear up to wade in where others fear to go. And that's the point. Am I contrarian? Yeah, I probably am. I don't like to, I can give you 10 examples of when I remember growing up, I was different. People would flip a coin, the professor would say, if you flip a coin, it's going to be 50-50, heads or tails. Who would bet more than 50-50 to see the result if 25 times it came up heads, and I was that guy, And he looked at me and said, but it's still 50-50, you know that, statistically. And I said, I know, but I really want to see. The art of a contrarian is somebody who knows when to hold them and when to fold them, when to wade in where others fear to go, how to go in and gear up for risk and assesses risk correctly, is not stuck with just being a contrarian. Sometimes you go with the flow. Sometimes you go with the grain. Sometimes you go in the same direction as the crowd, but sometimes you don't. And to me, that's the art of it. It's not just being a contrarian, it's knowing when to be a contrarian and how. We, about 5 years ago, sold everything we owned in Los Angeles. So we had sort of a bi-coastal portfolio. We owned 2 of the 4 corners of Hollywood and Vine, a large property down on 2 properties on Sunset Boulevard. So we sold out Los Angeles and focused solely on New York. We don't do ground-up development. We don't do residential. So we're a pure play New York office owner. And the prices are insane, okay? But nobody remembers Crazy Eddie in this crowd, so that's, very few do anyway. Okay, thank you. So we don't see any real buying opportunities in the city. We are expecting a normalization of pricing. We're sitting on the sidelines waiting. I'd rather miss a great opportunity than make a bad deal. My batting average isn't a whole lot different than Francis's. If you value properties that you acquired and didn't hit a triple as a strikeout. But we generally don't make bad deals. So does that make me a conservative contrarian? Possibly so. We are tending to our knitting. We're putting money into our own properties. We see that as really the best opportunity for investment today. We're expecting a downturn in a market that is, as we all know, cyclical, and are surprised that the game's in extra innings, to be perfectly honest with you. The impact of all the storm clouds that Mickey's talking about, not just excessive supply in New York City office, which there is. I speak only from an observer's point of view that it seems to be a whole lot of excess supply coming up in the residential area. If you go to Long Island City, it looks like there's a whole new city there. And that stuff hasn't been made available to the market yet. So excess supply in a slowly rising demand, again, I see heads shaking. I don't know residential, so I really don't mean to opine on that. But in regards to what I do know, which is office, I cannot imagine that in 4 years from now, we are going to see the same type of office pricing as we are seeing today at the high end, and that tends to dictate where pricing is in the mid-range. So, you know, I'm also a contrarian philanthropist. You know, my support of Sports and Arts Foundation in the schools are, because public schools are a contrarian thing to invest money in. But when you change the life of 1, 2, 5, 10, 25 kids, that's a psychic benefit that is my social conscience. And I believe that while you can't draw a straight line between being philanthropical and giving back and the bottom line of your business, that there actually is a connection. I believe that in my heart, and so that's where I put my efforts at the moment.